Hello, Oracles. How's everyone doing today? Happy Friday to everyone. Closing off the week strong for Tesla, over $280. So excited. And then, of course, we've got earnings next week. It's going to be a very exciting week coming up. Very much looking forward to it. What's going on, Steven? Yeah, that's right. Let's go. Oh, man. I'll give you guys a few minutes to hop on here. We'll get into some of the stuff that we saw. So, of course, we found out about Tesla India, which is pretty much a guarantee at this point. Um, Looks like Tesla's partnering with, I don't know if it's Panasonic or CATL, so I apologize, but they're partnering with them to put up a battery factory in India as well. And again, this is going back to what we were discussing about Tesla securing a supply chain in India for their EV factory. So it's coming. So that's not even a question. So the India factory is coming, and I have no doubt we'll hear about it. If not by the end of the year, early next year, but we'll be getting one very soon. What's going on, Lang? So very exciting on that front when it comes to Tesla in India. We still hopefully will be getting more information about the Cybertruck next week, which I have no doubt we will. And then earnings, and again, Peggy and I will be on his channel. So if you guys do not follow him, please subscribe, Curious Peggy, and I'll be on there 1 p.m. Eastern time this Sunday, and we'll be discussing our forecasts for earnings and what we think is going on. And he and I are kind of on the same page. We're very conservative with our forecasts, so we're right around the same ballpark. I'm going to be finalizing mine, so all of you guys who are members and patrons will get all of mine updated tomorrow. Yes, honey. Potential financial suggestion in India? Yeah. Yeah. That one's a definite. What's going on, Dominic? My day today wasn't too bad. It started a little rough, but it wasn't too bad. Had a great workout this morning. What's going on, Karav? And Karav, super excited. Telling me he's doing 10 pull-ups at a shot. That's pretty awesome. Love my pull-ups. We'll have to have more Gigafactory in India and other countries. Oh yeah, we're gonna have a lot more. And they said it's going to start at 500,000 vehicles in India, but quite honestly, they said the same thing about Berlin, and we know full well it's going to do significantly more than that. Knowing the population of India, despite the fact that they have the caste system, so there's not as many people buying vehicles over there. This could change some of that. And then, Lang, where you are, Australia, I have no doubt we'll end up with a factory. Most likely, I would think. And then I still think Indonesia or South Korea. We just found out that Malaysia is now selling Teslas. They now have the ability to do so. So that just started this week. So many awesome things coming up for Tesla. So much in the works. So this is one of those things where we're still in the very beginning of this. Tesla doesn't even have the Cybertruck out. Semi isn't even ramping yet. The compact car, the Model 2, isn't even started yet. It hasn't even been announced yet, but we know it's coming. So much on the front coming. I can't even do one pull-up 2 week. So Lang, one of the things I found out too is some people it's a couple of things. Sometimes it's strength, sometimes it's flexibility, sometimes it's just coordination to do it, and sometimes it's a mental block. Because I know I've known people who could do a pull down, lat pull downs on a machine with a cable, doing twice their body weight, but they couldn't do a pull up. So it happens. Yep. Model Y rear wheel drive, 44,000 US dollars. I love it. I love it. I love it. Looking at the prices of vehicles coming down, especially going into what some are still thinking could be a recession coming up at the end of this year, beginning of next year. If we get into those times, we're going to go into a couple of things, and there's a couple of discussions. Let me get a tweet up here. Who did it? Actually, it was one of the subscribers on here. I'm sure you guys know him, Blue Collar. Let me find his tweet that he put out because he made a great point. I think it was him. Let me just double check here. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There. I think this is it. Let's find out. Nope, it was somebody else. Maybe it was Robert. I think I shared it. Let's check this out. Maybe I shared it out. Oh, yes, Robert McLaughlin. I'm going to drop this on here for you guys in a hot second because he made a good point, and it's something that, I try to listen to what Elon has to say because he can't tell us directly what's going on, but he kind of lays down some hints here and there, and we don't always know it until it actually happens. So let me bring this up on the screen and we'll talk about it. So Tesla earnings coming up on 7/19. It's worth noting that Elon cautioned inexperienced people to not use margin because the stock is volatile. Elon also told us that Tesla will prioritize reducing inventory as necessary to maximize production. And he also reminded us that reaching full autonomy is getting near, and that reaching full autonomy is critical since it will add significant value. Reading between the lines, I am expecting to see some margin compression, but it also seems like we are getting close to level 4 or 5 autonomous driving. It helps to step back and look at the long-term trajectory, be patient. So the point in looking at that is strictly based upon the fact that, Elon cautioning against margin. Some people thought that, hey, maybe he was cautioning against margin because we were going to miss deliveries. Nick Gibbs, on the other hand, thought that we were going to be, he was saying that because they were going to smash the deliveries, but be careful because just because they smash deliveries doesn't mean that the stock is going to continue to go up. Be careful because of the macro environment. And sure enough, Nick was right on that front. But now going into earnings itself, maybe there's something else going on. And again, if we see a margin compression, people at this point don't care about FSD. Wall Street doesn't care about FSD right now because it's not actually solved. Until Elon comes out and says, hey, we've got this solved, Wall Street's going to be like, don't care, doesn't matter, not bringing in revenue right now, at least not at, the robotaxi scale that you've been talking about. Who cares? So because of that, if we see the margin compression going on, that could cause the market to pull back. My dad also brought up a great point today. August typically for the market isn't the best month. A lot of people are on vacations. There's a lot of low volume. We saw it happen last year as well. Very low volume in the month of August. When you have low volume, the stock market tends to move a lot more. And more so in a negative manner because people are selling it for their vacations. They got things going on. So that typically is what happens in August. Now, of course, we've got earnings coming up. We've got all of big tech earnings. It's earnings season right now. The banks happen to be smashing their earnings, so that's looking good. But is big tech going to be the same way? They're going to give us their outlook on the second half. Then we've got the FOMC meeting with not another one until September. So if the Fed goes up on rates, we could see a pullback in the market in August. Now, again, that might just be a temporary dip. Don't know if that's going to be the start of the pullback that I'm thinking we're going to get. Either way, looking at my plays, I need to buy TSLY. I've got to take a look at the calendar. I think I have to buy it by August 1st or maybe July 31st. So I've got to take a look at that one because it's the T+2, and I think the X date is August 2nd. I'll double check on that one. Actually, I do have that here. I can find that for you guys if it allows me to search in here. There we go. Bringing it up. So for those of you guys who have TSLY, here is your quick little reminder for the dates. Oh, can't do it that way. Sorry. There we go. So this is the reminder here. So again, August. So the X date is August 4th. So August 2nd is when you would need to buy this buy. And looking at the timing, if we happen to get that pullback after earnings, because that's what Tesla does. If they beat earnings, they sell off. If they meet earnings, they sell off more. If they miss, they really, really sell off. So if that ends up happening, I will take that opportunity. I did have one of my CDs mature today, and it had it was 7 of them in there. So it was $7,000 worth. I took 2,000 off the table. So I rolled over another 5,000 into a CD. I love TSLY. Think it's going to be awesome. Think it's going to give me great returns, but I do still like to be conservative. So I took that off, and it's only 1 month, so I can always roll it over. Plus, I have another one rolling over on Monday, so I've got the $2,000. I'm going to put 1,000 into that one, and I'm just going to even them all out at $5,000. So I'll have an extra $1,000, and I already have 1,300 aside. So I'll have $2,300 I can put into TSLY or whatever I want going forward, and then I still have 2 more CDs maturing before the end of the month. So I'll have plenty of cash worked up if I want to roll that into TSLY. That's just my current plan as of right now. I'll keep you guys posted on that, but there's some opportunities to be had out there, and being agile and being ready and patient is going to end up paying off. Honey, which country in Europe would be ideal Gigafactory for the compact car to start? Poland, Ukraine? If the war in Ukraine was definitely over as part of the rebuilding process, I would say Ukraine. However, where they're at currently, I would say no. Poland, I think, is good, but it might be too close to Berlin. I would think, depending on what their strategy is with this, if they plan on exporting out of Europe, which they're not doing with Berlin, so I doubt they would do it with any other country as well, especially if they have Mexico up and running, and they're going to end up having India doing the same thing. Really makes no sense to export. So putting a factory in Spain or Portugal or somewhere like that could end up, being an export hub may not be a priority. So maybe Italy. I don't know the logistics. France does not seem like it. Alexandra is totally against France going there. She has a lot of experience in France, knows it's not the place you want to put a factory. So maybe Italy is the place they end up putting it. Personally, I would love that. It would be great for my castle, but that means that the land value would probably go up in some areas, so it could make me pay more for my castle. But Italy would be good. And another reason for Italy is the population decline there, and Elon is so much against population decline. If he puts a factory in Italy, that could help spur that on and increase the population there. Just my thoughts and takes on that. But I think I don't know if Poland and Ukraine would be right for it. Karav, my estimate is the same as the whisper number of 89 cents. Oh, I did not know the whisper number. Thank you. So the whisper number is 89. We haven't had the IR consensus yet. Karav, what is it right now? The regular consensus estimate is the 85 cents. Is that where we're at? Because I've got to run mine. My numbers right now are not non-GAAP. I've got to run my non-GAAP numbers. But I'm right in the mid 85s. I'm right around 84 to 85 cents right now. Raymond waiting to get a Tesla bot as a personal trainer. It can do the push-up while I watch. Don't strain yourself. What's going on, Sith Lord? No worries. Don't worry about being late. We got plenty of time tonight. Dominic, I used to struggle doing pull-ups because I broke both my both your wrists when you were young. Yikes. Been weak since. Yeah, I broke my left wrist, which is crazy because I played baseball, and I'm left-handed, so pitching was hard. But because of the timing that I broke it, I don't know if you guys can see, but my thumbs are different lengths, just strictly because of when I broke my wrist when I was like 10 years old. And so I was just starting to go through puberty. So the bone grew faster in that wrist because of that. So I have like a mutant thumb right now. Let me see. No offense to Pierre, but the margin estimate he put out on Twitter just does not seem sensible, and he's using incorrect logic. Actually, you know what? I love Pierre. I will bring that tweet up right now because I retweeted it myself because Pierre is very, very bullish and very in tune with Tesla. So showing his incorrect logic, I'll show you guys what he came up with here. Oops. All right. So I keep doing that. All right, let's get this up for you guys. All right, so Pierre, what to expect for Tesla auto gross margins next week? So let me get this off the screen here. Brace for a short-term disappointment. And again, this is what I'm anticipating. So I agree with Pierre here with a further slide in Q2 of 2023, but also a good recovery beyond. So he's got that same mindset as me. I think we're going to have some near-term pain, but some long-term, very awesome growth. Tesla lowered prices of materials since the end of last summer, a great move as it kept the company on track to grow deliveries approximately 50%. This comes at a cost, though, driving gross margins down from a peak of 30% to 18.3% last quarter, adjusted for credits and leasing. So he's got all of his charts here showing that. And is not the end of it. Even if pricing stabilized during the first quarter, we show that some further margin pressure happened in Q2. As in Q1, still a number of cars were delivered at better prices. This means the average selling price will drop by a further $3,000. So that's his estimate here. Now, I believe what Krav would you say was 46,000 in Q1, and I had 48,000, and I'm still forecasting for 48,000. So if he's forecasting for lower, he's let me see his numbers here. Did he say in here? Oh yeah. So increasing ASP from 45 to 47,000. Sorry, I'm just reading through this myself because I didn't read. So second half looks like increasing. Consequence will we model gross margins to slide a further 270 basis points to 15.6%. So he's expecting a gross margin, a vehicle margin slide even more. So I've got them factored into 18%, and he's got them at 15%. In reality, things could be a bit better as we may overestimate the number of cars delivered at a high price in Q1 of 23, but we see a high chance for margins to be down again this quarter. So he's expecting a margin slide. On the brighter side, though, we expect this to be the trough and gross margins to recover beyond, even if we see some further price cuts as underlying costs are improving fast with the ramp of Berlin and Austin. So again, very much like Shanghai, we saw, margin hit, and then it started to climb out of it. So he's anticipating the same thing. So in the long run, we still see auto gross margins excluding FSD at 25%, given Tesla's cost and product advantage, knowing that the market dynamics will eventually set prices and at levels at which the competitors survive be a necessity. Bottom line, in the next few years, Tesla will expand gross margins by at least 10 points while still growing very fast. This makes for a nice combination. So again, for me, maybe he's overestimating the pullback in the average selling price down to $45,000. Maybe not. But if he's looking at that as a worst case scenario when it comes to gross margins, if that ends up happening, this is now coming from a very big Tesla bull. If that ends up happening, that could end up triggering that sell-off. And if he's talking about it being the trough, that theoretically means we've hit the bottom for margins. So then the stock sells off accordingly, gives us all a great buying opportunity, and then we can start pulling up from there. Then the macro environment taking a hold later could be a different story. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 6 months? But that's how Pierre is looking at it. I don't think margins are going to pull it down that much, but hey, you never know. And then again, it comes down to operating margins as well. So while vehicle margins may come down, as Zach told us already, their focus is really going to be on operating margins. Obviously, ships going over, Karav and we spoke about that as well. The costs of production in Berlin are a little bit more, but does that offset the savings that they had from all those ships coming over? And obviously as Berlin and Austin ramp more, that's going to bring the costs down even more. JEPI, yes. JEPI is a great one that I have. Yeah, smash that like button, please. That helps the algorithm. I appreciate that. So with JEPI, that's a good one. But for me, looking at it, I just got their payout. I'm kind of like flipping back and forth. When you do the dividends and you track the X dates on everything, if you do it and you don't get massive pullbacks and the market is really trading sideways, you can theoretically dividend hop. And what I mean by dividend hop is, let's say you have 100 shares of JEPI. You get that X date. Okay, cool. I owned it on that X date. The day after the X date, you sell out of it. Cool. What's coming up next in line for an order for the next dividend? Cool. Maybe it's TSLY coming up on the second. Great. So then you buy up on that for the next couple of weeks as you get into TSLY. Awesome. You've now loaded up on that. You hit that X date, you sell out of that, and then you move on. But again, you have to pay attention to the volatility of the market, because if you start losing value on that, it may not be worth it. But theoretically, if you had a list of like 10 or 12 different dividend ETFs and stocks that you wanted to get into, you could realistically flip through them all if you time it right and have that money get you dividends on 10 to 12 different ETFs along the way. So I don't have enough time to play that game and get in there and do all of that, but theoretically you can do that. Oh, Croatia's not a bad idea either, Raymond. Oh, 81 cents is analyst expectations. Okay, so I'm north of that, so that's good. I didn't realize I thought it was 85, so thank you. Marty, France thinks that Tesla will make a significant investment there, maybe a Megapack factory. I think it's what it is. I think they're going to end up putting a Megapack factory in France because obviously with Europe, knowing the energy issues they are having over there, having something for Tesla energy and Megapacks would be huge. So I think that's what I think is going to happen. I think the energy piece is going to go there. I don't think they're going to get an EV factory. He says orders from previous quarters when prices were high are still sold at those higher prices in the new quarter when the prices are lower. Yes and no, because we don't have that same delay that we did last year. Like last year was the wild year where there were 12-month lead times. So you had to go back 12 months and be like, when did these people place their orders? When did they actually take the deliveries? And what was the price when they placed the order? It's pretty straightforward now. So you're right on that. There really wasn't much of a lead time. It's not like people are like, oh, I placed my order and I had to wait 2 months to pick it up. It's like, oh, I placed my order and the lead time was instant and I was able to get it right away. So I know that prices fluctuated up and down a little bit, but it wasn't overall, it was more down than up. Let me see. Whenever Tesla cuts prices, everyone's order automatically gets the new lower prices. Does it really? Because mine didn't. Mine did not get the new lower prices. So that's interesting that you say that, because I know when I looked at mine and they were lowering prices, mine was at 52,000 and they dropped it down to 49 and I was still at 52. So that may not be the case unless they changed that, because that was 3 months ago. So that may have changed. Tesla might also need another US or Mexico Megapack factory. Megapacks sold out until 2025, and every 7 Tesla semis will need a Megapack. So as Nevada Rams Megapack need to get silly. Well, we know that Nevada's ramping, but I think they're going to end up doing one either in the Northeast, maybe near New York, or they're going to do it in Canada. So I think that's going to have it. And I think Canada will have an EV factory as well to supply the Northeast and Canada itself. So I think Canada will probably end up with both of them. Just don't know where or when, but I think they're both going to probably end up being on the east side of Canada. Didn't Elon pretty much say that FSD is solved today in spaces? Hardware margins will soon be irrelevant if he's right. I did not see the space. I did listen to the spaces today. I'm going to have to jump into that because that was at 4. Yeah, I was at Still Works. I was at 4 p.m. That's interesting. And I think when it comes to Elon's thinking, when he says it's solved, as he spoke about before with all the delays that were coming for FSD, and he kept saying every time they would get up to a ceiling, they realized, oh, we can't get past that ceiling and we have to kind of scrap it and pull back and then start going up again to hit that next ceiling. Perhaps what he means by they've solved FSD is they've now seen the point where there is no ceiling. They've gotten past the point where there's going to be a ceiling. They can just keep on making it better. And all they need now is more data coming in to be able to make these cars even better. So that's my take on that, just based upon what you said. Again, I haven't heard the spaces, but knowing Elon's brain a little bit, at least knowing him as much as I've paid attention, that's probably his thinking right now. Sal, what's going on? Hello. Are you still eyeing the 146 gap? Yeah, I'd mentioned that on Twitter today as well. Somebody was talking about it, and I was like, I still think it's coming. Too many people out there still see potential recession coming in the future. Again, looking at PPI, that was great that we got inflation coming down, but inflation coming down with the Fed still raising interest rates, knowing that previous interest rate hikes still have yet to fully take effect, we are going to see that disconnect between core and headline numbers. So we could see that deflationary pressure coming in that is going to end up forcing things below what it needs to be at. Then again, the domino effect. We've got actually people are getting frustrated at their jobs now. People are getting frustrated at their jobs, are willing to take pay cuts to go to places that aren't as stressful as where they're at. So people are going to be willing to make less money to be happier. That's less money in the market. Businesses start to go out because, hey, they can't have people who are working for them. They start going under because they don't have employees. They get more stressed out. They go under. All of the employees now don't have a job. They have to go find one. Then all of a sudden, the labor market's going to end up flipping. That also is going to flip the housing market at the same time. So we still have a lot of that change to go on in the macro environment. So, when somebody was pointing out earlier today that, last year we had, interest rates going up, Fed running off their balance sheet. We had the war in Ukraine that caused a lot of the FUD last year. What is it going to be this year? Well, it's going to be deflation. It's going to be the housing market coming down, and perhaps an earnings recession or an actual true deeper recession when it comes to the entire macro environment and the economy. That could be that massive pullback that causes that 146 gap to get filled. Gene, price prediction for the end of 2023. I will 275. That's right. I remember it. 275 is what my price target is right now. And a lot of that is based upon where do I think the macro is going to be. So it's all timing of the macro. So as we get closer to the end of the year, the harder it's going to be about timing. So right now it's 275. Yours changed. Oh, really? Okay. I checked a couple of weeks after the price cuts came out. So mine was a while. And actually, as a matter of fact, I haven't even gone into mine. I haven't got notifications from Tesla. They must have canceled mine out, which is fine. So I'm totally fine with that. Again, I've told you guys my plan for it, and I think next year, even though Elon did, or on Tesla website, it does state that the EV tax credit for next year could potentially be lower than it is this year. Don't know any details behind that, but that's what's showing up right now. Either way, lots of options for me, so I'm not too concerned about it. Honey, if Tim come to Canada, if Tesla built a Gigafactory here, that would be exciting. Yeah. So I would love to go to New York. I'm closer to the New York one. It's not like the super exciting factory, but I wouldn't mind going there. But if they put one in Canada, especially on the east side, I would absolutely go up there and check it out. Do a little walkthrough. Tesla stock seems to have broken out the struggle due to NASDAQ rebalance. The actual rebalance by major funds will be end of this month, so it could be a sell-off then. That's my thought, because it's all the big tech earnings, and that's when they're all going to give us their forecast for the second half of the year. So what ends up happening is they all these places play on a 1-year basis, because when you go past a year, you go to long-term gains, and the taxes are different, although I think that is changing. So they'll try to play it out a year. So they're going to look out a year, 6 months to a year from now, and say, all right, the second half of this year is looking questionable for these big tech stocks. So what we're going to do is we're going to sell out a lot of those. We're going to put our money into value plays or into bonds or other places that we're going to have it. So growth stocks are going to take a massive hit because of all of that, anticipating all of this coming up. So that rebalancing could be a lot of that. And then of course, what do growth stocks not like is higher interest rates. So if the FOMC comes out and they raise interest rates some more, we're going to feel it. Wouldn't hold my breath on 146. Cybertruck's coming in about 8 weeks. Yeah, Marty, I agree. And I think we'll get an excitement pop from that. But in August, typically, if you get a pop of some sort, it doesn't last long. And even if we get it in September, don't forget that Elon said that the Cybertruck ramp is going to be slow. So think about what happened with the Semi, but not as extreme. So we have all this super excitement about the Semi. Hey, here's the Semi event. All right, cool. What's the stats and the specs on all of this? When are we actually going to be ramping up and delivering? Nothing. And then it got delayed to the end of 2024, realistically. I don't think that's going to happen with the Cybertruck, but we'll get the specs, we'll get the pricing, but the ramp is going to be very slow for the Cybertruck. Elon's already told us that many times. So I think we'll get the initial jump in excitement from the Cybertruck, and then we're going to get a sell-off because people are like, well, where are they? Why are you producing them? Like, I'm not going to say the Hummer. I almost did. I'm not going to say it, but it'll be a slow ramp. It'll be similar to like Berlin and Austin, where everybody thought they were going to be ramping up quickly, and it just wasn't. Like, people were comparing it to Shanghai. It just wasn't, and it was a slower ramp. This is what we're going to see from the Cybertruck. So that's what I think is going to end up happening. So we'll have that initial excitement, and then people will get discouraged because of the slow Cybertruck ramp, and that will just add to the FUD. We'll end up seeing headlines like Cybertruck ramp delayed, Cybertruck's ramp is really slow. What's going on? I thought this was supposed to kill all of the trucks. And we'll hear all sorts of headlines like that crap coming out, and that'll end up killing the stock price. I realize it only says that for the Model 3 website. It makes sense since the requirements become more strict. Model 3 batteries are from China. Oh, okay. Thanks, Karav. I appreciate the clarity and the clarification. So that is only for that. So the Model Y will still get full credit, which is awesome. Now, of course, I'm still looking at maybe I do just get a Model 3. I don't need a Model Y. But I'll have options for next year. And if I can get it off the price up front and realistically like take home a Model Y for $35,000, mind-boggling. I would be all over that. What should be the sweet pot price for the base trim of the Cybertruck, or what will cause you to actually buy one? Well, I already have mine on order, so I do. I have my reservation in there. So for me, when I put the reservation in, I didn't get to pick a trim. It was just a generic $100 for holding a place in line, basically. So knowing that they're going to have the dual motor and the quad motor, I don't know if they're going to do the tri-motor. There were talks about it not happening. So from what I heard from Sawyer Merritt way back was a dual motor, a quad motor, and a plaid version. That's what I think they're going to do. And I think the dual motor is going to end up coming out around 69 grand. For obviously irony reasons, but that will also be under the $80,000 threshold. So you'll be able to get the EV tax credit for it. And I think that's what it is. So the base trim, I think, is going to end up being $69,000 for the Cybertruck. Going up to the quad motor, that might pump on another 20 grand. I don't know. So that might go to 89,000. I don't know if they're going to try to squeeze it in at 79 to keep that in the EV tax credit also. And then the plaid would be the only one that goes over that price. I'm really curious as to how they're going to start this. If they are anticipating a recession coming up, instead of going with the higher priced vehicles and higher priced trims that they've done in the past to be able to move more units, they may come out with the lower priced one first. However, knowing that they're trying to boost up their sales and knowing how many people are going to buy, the people who are going to be buying the Cybertrucks first, who are first in line, will probably end up going with the higher end trims anyway. They may come out with the higher end trims first, just because they can bring in that extra revenue that will help them, move the business along even faster to be able to ramp up to those other trims. So that may end up being the way they go, is the higher trim ones first. They've got the Model Y, they've got the Model 3, everything else is lower price. They're already moving those. So they might as well just go with the higher end ones for the Cybertruck. Elon also said that hardware 4 is 3 to 5 times improvement over hardware 3. All H4 might be level 4 right now. Just go cray. Yeah. Cray. Crazy. So yeah, and I know Nick Gibbs is waiting on his. He's got hardware 4 in his Model Y, and he's awaiting FSD to come into it for him, the update. So that would be nice. And that's the other reason too, me waiting till next year to get mine guarantees I'm going to get hardware 4. And Elon did say that hardware 3 can absolutely handle FSD as it needs to be, but hardware 4 obviously is going to be significantly better. So maybe you're right. Maybe that is it. Just the hardware 4 allows FSD to be solved now, and the hardware 3, there just needs some other tweaking going on. Danny, XAI on Twitter plus SpaceX should all join together with Tesla as an ETF. So I don't know if it was Rob Maurer who was working on something like that, putting together like an Elon ETF, where you can buy an ETF that is just all of Elon's companies. And some of them, like, I would love to be able to get into SpaceX, but it's privately owned. But if I could purchase an ETF publicly so that I can get a piece of SpaceX through that, that would be awesome. So if somebody does do an Elon ETF, I would be all about that. I mean, think about it. You get XAI, Twitter, Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink along with SpaceX, Boring Company, and Neuralink, which, those two doesn't matter much, but heck, I mean, I would love that ETF. I'd be all over that. Oh, exactly, Hanif. Yeah, I'd be all over that. So far, retail average is 91 cents. Okay, that is good to know. And Karav, I will get you mine tomorrow because I know you like to throw out a tweet with everybody's estimates prior to earnings. So I will get you mine tomorrow as soon as I'm done with it. Let me see what else we got going on in the Twitterverse. So I don't know if any of you guys saw, but Twitter is now paying out. And again, that is huge. I mentioned it on my video yesterday, but Twitter paying out here, and it was one thing I didn't even mention in my video. Yes, Twitter paying out is going to bring more people to the platform, which then ends up bringing more ad revenue. But one of the stipulations to be able to get paid out on Twitter is to have a blue check mark and pay that $8. So think about all the people who are just like, oh, I want to get paid. I'll pay the $8 so I can make significantly more than $8. Twitter's about to bring in a crap ton of revenue strictly from that. Like people said, it's ironic how Threads came out, had huge traffic going into Threads, and then all of a sudden it fell off a cliff this week. What happened this week? People started getting paid out on Twitter. Guess who's not getting paid on Threads? Anyone. So Threads is going to inevitably have to go and go in that direction. But right now, what's the point in people putting anything on Threads when they can just put it all on Twitter, which is basically the same thing, and get paid? So that to me right now is huge. Elon is brilliant. So he's done all of this. He's going to bring a lot more people over to Twitter. And what has Twitter been doing? A lot more, visibility for Tesla itself also. He's playing this game so well, and like people still give him crap for it, but he's now got this moving in that direction. So there's some significant payouts coming. I'm not there yet. You need 5 million impressions over there for every month for 3 months in a row. The last 28 days, I'm at 135,000. So I have a long way I need to go. So if you guys are over on Twitter, or if you're not, hop on over there. Please follow me, Oracle Investments. I'd love to have you guys. I follow a lot of people myself, share lots of stuff that I can, and I'm going to try to get more active there because why not? If I have an opportunity to make some money on Twitter also, I'm going to be all over it. So that's where I'm going to be at. And again, like I've seen some people who have less than 10,000 followers. I've got about 4,300 followers myself. I've seen people who have less than me having good tweets and they're making money. So you have an opportunity over there. If anybody's looking for some side cash and you like tweeting, have at it. Richard Bean, do you see Tesla licensing its factory IP to OEMs to the skateboard level, along with FSD when that's solved, allowing others to style their bit on top? I don't know if they're going to license that. I mean, obviously they're going to license the FSD. Elon has said that, but they do have all of their patents are open for people to see. So they don't even need to license it out because if people want to copy the skateboard and copy what Tesla's doing, they just need to get the patents and do it. And the fact that nobody is just boggles my mind. But Tesla's like, here's the patents. I mean, we saw at Investor Day, they literally showed us exactly what they're going to be doing in their next factory. This is what we're doing. If you want to be successful like us, just do this. So like Tesla doesn't even need to lease that kind of stuff because they're just giving that information freely. So, they'll license the FSD. Obviously, Optimus will have FSD and they'll sell those to other manufacturers as well. But I mean, maybe you are right. Maybe they do end up giving the skateboard out. Maybe people are like, you know what? We want to build the shell on top. Maybe it could be like an Apple type thing. Maybe Apple's like, hey, you know what? We don't want to go through the whole process of building up the skateboard and the drivetrain and all of that stuff. Tesla, you know how to do that. You build all of that up. We'll just throw the little Matchbox car top on it and we'll put in our own sound system and all of that stuff, which we are good at. We'll take care of that and we'll throw it onto your skateboard. So that actually might be a possibility, a company like Apple doing something like that. Karav, random info to anyone who finds it useful. Here's the final Q2 deliveries split by region. North America, 182,184. China, 158,176. Europe, 93,076. And the rest of the world, 32,074. China might be passing North America soon. That's awesome. I mean, obviously their population is significantly higher, but great to see that breakdown. And rest of the world, and that's the whole thing is, rest of the world, Tesla, there's a lot of countries Tesla is still not in. There's a lot of places. So that's going to build it. So, and then what do they need in those other countries? The infrastructure. So Tesla superchargers will go over there. Tesla Energy goes over there. So it's not just a matter of like legacy auto of, hey, we're going to put a vehicle in this country. So we're going to put a vehicle. We're going to put energy. We're going to put superchargers. We're going to put everything you could need. That is the entire Tesla ecosystem going into countries. And that's a huge piece that people are missing. If Meta is mostly converting Instagram users to Threads, it may end up cannibalizing Instagram ad revenue. Twitter's good due to that. Yeah, and I've been playing with Threads. I told you guys I was going to do it just to see it, and for me, I'm using it literally exactly how I use Twitter. But there's a lot of people, and this is what I've noticed from a content creator standpoint. There's a lot of people on Instagram and Facebook who refuse to go on Twitter for the same reason that a lot of people on Twitter refuse to go on Facebook and Instagram. So for a content creator, if I'm going to try to get my brand out there as much as possible, I've got to be on both because I doing just one or the other, I'm going to alienate a significant portion of people. So I'm on both. And because I'm doing health and fitness and not just Tesla, I'm going to be on both. And it's basically the same. So I literally put the same things on Threads that I put over on Twitter. The difference for me is when it comes to Threads, I can easily share to my stories on both Instagram and Facebook from Threads. So I do it that way. I'm contemplating doing both now with the impressions from Twitter. I might end up sharing more of those to my stories to try and get more impressions as well. I don't exactly know how that works. I don't know the algorithms behind all of that, but I may do it that way just to get more impressions. And I'll do a little test run. I've been doing it for a week on Threads. So next week I'll try to do it for a week over on Twitter and I'll share all those. And this way I can give you guys a little feedback on the difference between the two and if it's actually made an impact. Tesla China is probably getting more than 10,000 Model Y orders a week. It's insane. Yeah, that's crazy. Crap, you think Threads is dead in a year or two? It could be. Very well could be, especially if they don't start paying out. Like again, like I said, they're almost identical. What's the point in putting effort into Threads other than like I said, I'm doing it for? What's the point in putting any significant effort into it if you're not going to get revenue for it? So they're going to have to pay out very quickly. What about delivery numbers on Mars? Coming, it's coming. Estimate 69,000 deliveries on Mars for 2050. Karaf, I love you, man. That's awesome. Yes. If you leave Threads, you are also automatically leaving Instagram. Yeah. 69,420. I've heard the ice caps on Mars have been having a good demand. Yeah. Let's not send any ships up there hitting an iceberg. That's not good. Let me see. What else we got going on? What? Oh, there we go. Let's see what else I put out there today. Pierre, that's good. Yeah, and I didn't even bring up the charts today. Let me pop the charts on the screen for you guys. Look at me. Totally forgetting all about the charts. Where are we at? Yeah, so closing at 281.38. And again, volume is still relatively low. I mean, 120 million shares trading hands. Thinking about, the entire month of June, volume was pushing, 150 to 200 million shares. Now we're at 120. So it's very paltry. Again, with the rebalancing, like we were saying the last couple of weeks, we may see a little bit more volume coming in, but pay attention because if you see a lot of volume with red candlesticks, I think there's a lot of options plays that are going on right now that are kind of driving this up almost like a short squeeze, but it's more options driving it higher. Again, TSLY being an options player, that could be part of what's driving it higher too. So we could see a lot of that going on. Then we get into slower volume going into August. Maybe we do end up getting that sell off. Truly don't know, but that's what I am anticipating is that opportunity. Let's see. Threads is like the USFL, just a flash in the pan. It could be. It could be something that just completely dies out. And I thought about it. It's like, again, if you take Facebook, Instagram, and Threads and put them all together, it's Twitter. So why have 3 different apps when Twitter does it all in one? Just, it doesn't make sense to me. But again, because of people's personal feelings, many of them aren't on Twitter. So I've got to be on all 3. Plus my parents are on Facebook, so I'm still there. How long will it keep going up? A few weeks? Maybe 1 week, maybe till earnings. Maybe we sell off after earnings, we come down after that. Or maybe there's a quick boost after earnings and then a sell off after that, going into further earnings after that, or the FOMC meeting. Yeah, there's an uptrend on the daily. So I'll pop it up again here for you guys. So if you look at, obviously this is a major uptrend here, but if you take out this massive boost and just go from, basically beginning of June, it's still, we're making higher lows, and we have over this time frame been making higher highs and higher lows. So we are pushing up. So my thought is maybe ahead of earnings, we push up to 300. Maybe we get earnings that are a surprise and we push up to that 314 level. That was that level of support, or the level of resistance that we bounced off of twice last year. Now you go back here. Where is it? I don't want to lose it. I'll just lose it when it happens here. So yeah, so 314, this was it. Bounce, bounce, bounce. We had this hard line here. And actually, you know what? I'm going to put my drawings in. Trend line. So yeah, 314. Oh, that's not what I wanted. They changed this all up on me. There we go. Horizontal line. So there it is. That is our resistance that we just could not break through previously. And that's just what I'm waiting for, is for that to change. And once that changes, get the heck out of here. I don't want you up here anymore. So that's what we're going to be testing, perhaps coming up in the next week or two. If we test that 314, can we break it? That'll be my big question. Yeah. And then of course the rebalancing happening effective today. So rebalancing still happening, going on. So just pay attention to things. Again, that upward trend line is great, but I just want to make sure, because the next big level for us to break, like we may hesitate at 290 if we keep going up. 300 is the next big one to get through, then 308, and then 314. Those are the next 3 big ones to get past if we get there. Meta's thread numbers daily of active users are down about 20% from Saturday, and the time spent for user is down 50%. Yep, from 20 minutes to 10 minutes per CNBC. And again, I mean, of course we were going to get the initial rush and push to go into it. That wasn't even a question. And obviously just people, it's easy to convert. For anybody who hasn't done it, you literally go into threads, like it's a half a second. It just takes all of your Instagram info and puts it right on there. So like it doesn't take any effort to convert your whole entire Instagram profile over. It's almost instant. And then everybody that you're following, you just follow them on there. And as soon as somebody who hasn't come onto threads yet comes on, you automatically follow them as well. They made it pretty efficient and simple to get over there. So they made that pretty fluid, but of course, once everybody initially did that, now it's like, all right, there's less people coming over, and then it's just one more app to play with. Again, because people who were on Instagram, they're like, all right, well, what do I do on threads? Because a lot of people who were on Instagram don't know how to use Twitter. They weren't on Twitter. But so like, well, how do we do this? So they're starting to learn how to do that. But then, of course, if they're learning how to do that and Twitter comes out with, hey, we're going to pay you, and you have a lot of big people who are on Instagram are like, oh, I can do exactly what I'm doing and get paid on Twitter as well. I'm going to Twitter. So I'd actually be curious to see how many new users Twitter has been seeing as well. We know that their seconds per user has gone up significantly. They hit all-time highs again. So I'm wondering if they're having more users as well. Guys, robotaxis might be just around the corner. This will change everything. It could be 2020 part 2. Part 2. Yes, I agree. And I think that is going to be the game changer. So it's just a matter of time, and a matter of once it hits the ground, gets regulated, and we can see actual revenue generation coming from it. That's going to be the big one. And I think it's going to take, I think we'll see sort of like, a big pop when it comes in, then we'll do the sell off, and then we'll kind of slowly climb up and down because there's going to be so much uncertainty. We'll probably have like first robotaxi accidents that are going to cause so much FUD and things that are going on. It's going to be like a child learning how to crawl. Like, hey, the excitement of the birth of the child, and then okay, now the parents are like, oh, that's awesome. But now we have to wake up in the middle of the night and we have these challenges. And now they're walking and now they're crawling and all this stuff. So I think that's how FSD is going to play out and the stock price will react to it. Is a lot of ups and downs and uncertainty. Elon just tweeted a chart of user active seconds on Twitter and somehow Japan is on top. That doesn't surprise me. Of course, Japan's on top. That's what Japan does. Like, that's their thing. I don't know. Robotaxis aren't going to sneak up on anyone. The public will need to trust them. Will take time. Multi. That's exactly what I was talking about when I see all these all these are I lose my train of thought. Everything on the news when they're putting out all these pieces on the news about um drivers, wrong way drivers, distracted drivers, so many people dying. And then they'll always put in there these little tidbits of information about, oh, autonomous vehicles are coming. Ooh, they're safer than human drivers. They don't mention Tesla specifically, but they talk about self driving cars and how they're going to be safer. The seeds are being planted to the public right now, at least here in the US. So, yes, it's going to take the public trust, but I think those seeds are being planted. So, yes, I think it's going to take some time because a lot of people are, I'll see it and believe it, and I actually want to experience it to actually believe it. So, you telling me that it isn't going to fully sell me, but actually experiencing it, then they'll go back and have that reinforcement from, oh, yeah, this is safer than a human driver. Then you start to get that ball rolling. Aren't Luce's deliveries deplorable? Deliveries are deplorable. The fact that they're completely against the NACS, the North American Charging Standard, talking about charging and everything. Like, dude, I sure, if you think that yours is better and you think your solution is better, that's great. But if you're the only one who is doing that, then you're going to be a dying breed. So it just Lucid's in trouble. They're gonna struggle. FSD has to be solved before robotaxi, expecting for 12 non-beta in 6 to 12 months optimistically. Yeah, I think we hear version 12 probably. Yeah, I think you're right. Right on target, 6 to 12 months. So end of this year or by this time next year, I think we'll have version 12 coming out. Robotaxi 2025 at the earliest. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. 2025 earliest. Realistically, for me, it's going to be 2026, at least on a noticeable scale in 2026. Nope. Once they work somewhere, it's game over everywhere. Yes and no. Marty, just thinking about here in the U.S., just going state by state. Some states, state by state, there's different beliefs of different things. So, thinking about just Tesla sales themselves, some states like California are touting it, Tesla, Tesla, Tesla everywhere. And then you've got other states in the Midwest who are like banning Tesla sales going on. So we'll probably see the same thing when it comes to that. And then, of course, regulations for fully autonomous vehicles, level 4 and 5, go state by state. So when are we actually going to get it regulated on a national basis? Because let's say you live in one state that does, but you're driving to another state that doesn't allow it. You're going to drive and then all of a sudden you're going to take it off, and you can't actually put out true robo taxis on the road that might be crossing state lines without a driver, or if you have no steering wheel or anything, having this vehicle drive across state lines, you won't be able to do it. So it's, yeah, it's different. And then don't forget, we only have FSD here in the US. Like, we need it in Canada, we need it in Europe, we need it in China. There's a lot of other places we need to really get FSD out there. So, but again, like you said, once they do figure it out, should be relatively seamless, especially with Dojo up and running, should be relatively seamless and very quick to ramp. I would picture it's going to be like a Shanghai ramp, a little bit slower once it gets going. Once we get the ball rolling, it's going to take off quickly, especially as you go country to country, but it's still going to take time. And then you've got to get the regulatory approval from each country. And yeah. First delivery estimate for Q3 is 489,000. I've got to go through mine. My production is just over 500,000, and the way I do deliveries is factored based upon the delivery production gap, and I'm going to track back 4 quarters, and I'm going to do an average of that gap based upon my production. What is that gap? That is what my delivery forecast will end up being. Um, so I will try to I'll actually try to work those out tomorrow too. So if I'm going to do my valuation spreadsheet, I'll try to get that production and delivery updated as well. So I think we do have a chance of hitting 500,000 for next quarter. It'll be close, but I think we have a chance. Um, yeah, Danny, you're right. FSD might get solved in 2024, but there will be legislation to get passed in each state. Could take years. Yeah, and that's what it's going to come down to. And I think again, some states already have it. Then you're going to have more states coming on board, sort of like marijuana right now, where slowly state by state are regulating things, allowing things to happen. The government works extremely slow. It's how they operate, unless of course they're trying to do something to get money into their own pockets and their friends' pockets. Then it moves really quickly. However, this is not the case. This is going to take some time. Yes, but if traffic fatalities drop a lot for those using it, it will have um, to be quickly adopted. Yes and no. Again, there's some people who can see plain as day the statistics right in front of them, and they're going to be totally against it anyway. So um, I understand logic and reasoning behind it, Marty, but I also understand human mentality, and people are like Men in Black says, an individual person is smart. People are stupid. You put them in a group together, they're a bunch of idiots. So that's the problem. Yep. Politics and profits prevents all safety measures every day. It's a complex world. Safety first when convenient. Let's see. Shane, decade till governments let robotaxis loose. Some could be. But again, we'll go to I don't know if they're ever going to do it on a national basis. I would think they would, but I don't know. It'll be state by state first for a while. How will insurance co-determine cost for FSD? Maybe initially Tesla insurance will fill that gap. That's a great question. Will you, if you have a fully autonomous vehicle, let's say you own a robotaxi and you don't even have the ability to drive that vehicle, who assumes the insurance on it? Is it you as the owner, or is it Tesla because it's their FSD? That's actually a pretty good question. Yeah, I truly don't know how that one's going to end up working out, but for currently the situation that we have, if we go to level 4 or if we go to level 4 where they still have the steering wheel on the vehicles and humans are still going to be in the vehicle but don't have to pay attention, then that would still be on the owner to have that insurance because they could also be at the wheel, and they could be in control. So how it's going to do with insurance, I would imagine at that point, the safety scores will be high. So for Tesla insurance, it's going to be great. So your rates are going to be super, super low. That again is not the reason why Tesla has insurance is to make money. It's to improve the customer experience. So if Tesla is out there with fully autonomous vehicles, they've got Tesla insurance, they've got their FSD in it, and their insurance rate keeps coming down because they have FSD, the insurance savings itself might end up paying for the FSD. That's actually, wow, I didn't even think about that. So, I mean, if FSD is going to cost, let's say $200 a month, I don't think most people pay $200 a month in insurance, but like I'm paying almost $100 a month in insurance. So if mine comes down to $50 a month, or if it comes down to $50 a month, I'm saving $50 a month by having FSD. So instead of FSD costing me 200, it's really costing me 150 because I'm saving on insurance. I think Tesla said they'd be willing to take the liability, so maybe a basic free comparable to what we're used to paying. That actually that's true, and that's exactly that's what I'm saying. So you might save a ton of money on your car insurance just because of FSD. So that in itself will make it worth it to have FSD. Jerry, you're right. China will move faster with FSD approval than the US. And I have a feeling that was one of the discussions that Elon had with them when he was over in China, was talking about FSD regulation, because they do have fully autonomous vehicles over there already. So once China says, all right, we're on board with it, they move faster than the US, of course, because of the way their governments run. So they're going to be like, all right, we're going to do FSD. Sweet. We're on board. Let's do it. And they'll just go and do it. Automated driving will put so many people out of work that governments won't be able to let it happen due to the riots on the streets from the people that still that will lose their jobs. Yes and no. We have stuff like this happen all the time with anything that's disruptive technology. Again, going back to what Sandy Munro had said, um, back when the horse and buggy was going away because cars were coming in. You have uh, the Luddites come out here and they intentionally bash the new technology because they don't want to change. And the people will fight. There will be people who are upset about it, but it's yes, they're going to lose their jobs, but it's one of those in order to advance society, we need to go through that and we will need to find new jobs. There's going to be new jobs. It's not that there's going to be no jobs for them. They just need to learn a new skill. Like, sorry, like it does suck. Like it does suck for people who are, been doing something for a long time. They've tried it, they've been doing it, and now they have to change. But it's you just got to learn the new skill. So I don't think it's going to be that bad, and I think it'll be niche at first. I think the first robotaxis we see will end up being like at sporting events, airports, things like that, around complexes like that. So it'll be transportation within certain facilities. I think that's where we're really going to see it first, and then perhaps something like the inner cities, where you're going to end up having, just like we have taxis and Ubers and stuff like that. You'll have robotaxis in the inner cities. That is what I think is going to end up happening. So we'll have a combination of the two. Yeah, AI is going to put so many people out of work. Going to see some crazy stuff in the next 5 to 10 years. You're right. Um, a lot of stuff for AI is going to take it out, and then of course when Optimus comes out, that's going to just make it that much worse. And again, that transition will probably be harder than transitioning people from into EVs, from ICE into EVs. So transitioning over to AI, but the problem is that people aren't going to have a choice because these companies, they are all about profit, profit, profit. So if they're like, if I can just purchase this AI program or whatever and let AI create all this stuff for me, and I can, eliminate 20% of my staff and save all that payroll, they'll do it. And then we're going to see some massive changes in the next 5 to 10 years. You're absolutely right. Also, they can't get enough truck drivers now. That'll be the biggest. I think the biggest effect when it comes to FSD will be the semi truck drivers having a fully autonomous semi truck, because they are on such strict regulations on how much they can drive, how long they have to take breaks for. If we had vehicles on the road for trucks that didn't have to slow down transportation of goods, then the companies are going to be all over that because they can get goods there faster. And that's, of course, how they make their money. How quickly can we get goods transported to the place they need to be? Well, if they don't have to wait for drivers to take breaks, they can transport a lot faster and they can deliver a lot more goods. And that is going to be massive. We've never had basically every industry disrupted at the same time, though. This will be a very negative. This will be a very rough to navigate. You're not wrong. And again, it's not going to happen all at once, but it's gonna be a lot. There's AI going as quickly as it is into so many different fields. You're not wrong. And there's a lot of people who are utilizing the AI, like doctors are utilizing AI, finding out a whole lot of things that they didn't know before. So it's advancing medicine a lot faster, which is great. But yeah, having many industries getting disrupted at the same time, you're right. It could get ugly. Couriers out of the work goes on the list. So my thought was like, what are we going to do for, like Uber Eats? Usually the Uber Eats, the driver takes it and brings it to you. So are they going to have a robo-taxi deliver your food? I mean, I would imagine they could. And, maybe they'll say, hey, here's your slot with your food on the side of our van. And you put your code in that we gave you over the phone or whatever. And they text it to you. So this is how you can get your food and you're not taking anybody else's. That's possible. Maybe that's the technology they're going to end up coming up with for something like that. But yeah, couriers, I mean, but think about like Amazon with delivery. They're delivering by drones. So, they still have somebody operating that. There's still somebody on the other end. Maybe it's going to create, having this may put a lot of these couriers out of work, but it might create new jobs in other places that we don't even know about yet. And that's the thing that happens a lot when it comes to disruptive technology. Almost no traffic stops. That's my whole thought too. When you get to a world where we have all vehicles autonomous, you don't even need streetlights. You don't need stop signs. If every vehicle is communicating with every other vehicle, it knows exactly where it's at. It knows exactly how quickly it's driving. You can see intersections of just cars zipping by each other. And then you go into the highway, you don't need speed limits of 65, 75 miles an hour. You can have cars doing 100, 120 miles an hour because they're just that safe. And that could speed up commutes for a lot of people as well. And just vehicle traveling could get sped up significantly. Let me see. In the long run, we'll make the rich even richer by making a job automated, not have to pay an employee. Shane, that's the name of the game for everybody. That's how capitalism works: is making the rich richer. It stinks. It's the world we're in, and what I try to do on my end is figure out how I can get myself in a better position playing by their rules. I do it that way. I don't agree with either. I think it stinks. I wish we had a slightly better playing field, but the rich richer still means that we all have that opportunity. It's just a matter of figuring it out. Um, and I know it's not as easy for a lot of people. Some people are in different situations, but the opportunities are there because of the fact that the rich get richer. But the people who have the money and power also do their best to make it as hard as possible for the rest of us to make it up. Um, so unfortunately, that's the game we're in right now. AI eliminates jobs. No jobs, no money. No money, no buying power to buy the product AI is making. So that's where Elon had already mentioned when it comes to Optimus. Um, Money, the GDP is based upon labor. So the more labor you have, the more GDP you have coming in. You continue growing the population, that means that you have more consumers to purchase all of that product that the labor is producing. Therefore, theoretically, you can have an infinite GDP. Having an infinite GDP, if we get to that point where humans don't need to do any work anymore, but you have a theoretical infinite GDP, that's where you can have a universal basic income coming out and everybody gets paid and they can say, all right, well, based upon the goods that we're producing, and if you're producing an abundance like they are, theoretically, the prices of everything should come down significantly. We'd have massive deflation just because we can abundantly supply the world with whatever it needs at very little cost because the robots are doing it for us. If that's the case, universal basic income, maybe you don't even need that. Maybe you can just get food for free. I mean, who knows? But obviously, somebody's going to pay for these things. But maybe going out to buy an apple is now like 25 cents a pound versus $2 a pound for apples. You go and do something like that. So your universal basic income, maybe they're like saying like, hey, you know what? $50,000 a year is what basic people need to live on. Then when you do that, then people can actually do work because there's a lot of people who do want to work. People need a purpose in life. So they would end up going there and doing what they want to do. So anything they want to do, maybe you want to be, a professional tuba player. You go out there and do that. Sure, maybe you're only making, scrap change. Maybe it's $10,000 to $15,000 a year from playing little gigs here and there. Who cares? It doesn't matter because you have enough money coming in to buy what you need to survive, and you get to live the dream that you wanted to live and bring in a little extra money to do other things that you want to do with it. So that was the whole premise behind Elon discussing all of that in the future. And obviously that's way, way, way down the road for the Optimus thing. But that's where you would end up having that universal basic income. Hey, what's going on, Randall? Yep, exactly. UBI will be necessary. It will be. And whether the way the government's been working now is trying to set us up for that because they see it, I don't know, but I do think that's coming in the future. Yeah, it hit the 285 and got rejected at 285. Yeah, in intraday, that's where we ended up getting up to, was that 285 level. So it's okay. It's okay. We'll see how we trade on Monday. And we did have a little bit of a sell-off going into the close. So looking at, oh, I don't even have it on the screen. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at it like you guys can see too. So looking at the 5-minute chart here. Gotta go back here. So actually the 5-minute, so we saw the sell-off here, and then we saw going into close, so it looks like the last hour actually was a run up. So that was actually, so we ran up into the end of the close. Okay. I thought it was the other way around. I was busy working, so I didn't get to see the very end. I just saw that it was dropping from the highs of the day. So, all right, not terrible. So we had that little push into the end. So we might see a little push on Monday. That's typically, that might indicate that we see a push up on Monday morning. So of course, unless anything happens over the weekend that scares the market. Let's see. Just a thought, who would clean the robotaxi after a dirty client? Optimus, obviously. Duh. Or it could be self-cleaning. Who knows? Like an oven. But yeah. So, and then Danny, I also thought about things too. Now, my initial thought was robotaxis, like who charges them? Somebody's got to be there to plug them in. But then we also heard that Tesla's got, they're partnering with somebody, or they bought somebody to do wireless charging. So they'll just have mats. So the cars can obviously then just drive themselves back and charge themselves. So that eliminates that, what I thought was going to happen. As far as the dirt and the cleaning, yeah, and until Optimus gets to a point where they can do it, yes, somebody's going to have to clean them out. And I'm sure they're going to have cameras inside of these robotaxis to be able to see what's going on. They'll see what's going on. They'll see who is in there. They'll know who it is. So if you do end up dirting it or damage it in some fashion, I'm sure you're going to get charged for it. Yeah, Shane, you're right. Even Elon has told everyone AI needs to be regulated before it gets out of control. It does. There definitely needs to be some governing board. And judging by what I have heard, our two top leaders here in the US talk about AI, they should not be in charge of it at all. They have no friggin' clue as to what is going on. And the fact that they had an AI summit and Elon wasn't there just boggles my mind. But again, I know our president's feelings towards that because of the UAW. So, but yes, it definitely does need to have some sort of regulation and regulatory body overseeing it very soon if they don't already have one. Good. Raymond, I love you. Goods are already free in San Francisco stores, but that's only if it's under $950. Anything under $950 is free. Happy Friday, Alex. What's going on? Yeah, hopefully massive beat in deliveries reflects positively in margins. So, just to contradict that a little bit, some other people are thinking that because the deliveries beat by so much, it's because Tesla came down on margins too much. So maybe they cut prices too much to push up deliveries. But as Elon said, they're focusing on getting as many vehicles on the road as possible. And maybe they do go to 0% margins for vehicles. So they've obviously run the numbers for this to make sure that they can get the company by without that. So they've done all of those numbers. They've crunched them all. So maybe we do see a bigger margin hit like Pierre thought. If done right, AI might enable most things for free: food, restaurants, traveling, sporting events, etc. Exactly. It's totally possible. As long as the people who are producing the stuff are making the money that they want to make. And again, who would be paying for it? I don't know. Obviously it's coming from somewhere, but that would be interesting. Shane, I am in construction. I would love to see the day that I could program one of my excavators to go to a new field and dig all the footings automated without a driver in full. So Shane, ironically, I actually, I work in rental and retail construction myself. And we rent out large equipment. We rent out excavators, skid steers, all that kind of stuff. We've got all the lasers too. So the laser technology that's there and the drones that can fly over to lay out fields and plots for everything, it's pretty close. Like you can put on your dozer, we have it for skid steers, we have it for dozers. You put your lasers out there on them and it will do what you need it to do. So it's pretty close to that technology already. So we're definitely going to get there. Oh yeah, Kamala Harris. I don't know if you guys saw, somebody made a great video of her explaining AI, and then in it they had all of the Happy Gil or the Billy Madison stuff when he was telling the whole puppy story at the very end, going over the book and explaining how that is with society. And like they kept saying like And like all the stupid people in the crowd are like all excited about her talking about AI. And then the guy at the end just like, we are all now dumber because of what you just said. May God have mercy on your soul. Hilarious. Let me see. Do you know anything about Elon suing Zuckerberg over the Twitter knockoff? Um, Elon, they've got it in the works because it literally is the same thing. Again, using them both, it's pretty much the same. The difference is you are um, Threads has the character limit that Twitter doesn't have anymore. So it's almost like Threads is using old Twitter technology. Like Twitter 2022 Twitter is what Threads is using currently. There are some features that are better about it, but like even when I try to add a picture or a video, I have to go into my, and I'm sure there's a way I can change it, but like I have to individually pick every one, go into it, and it's a little more of a hassle there. I run a civil engineering company here in London. Oh, awesome, Shane. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's so again, I do all that. So that technology is out there. So I think we'll see some of it. And I heard rumors a while back about Tesla looking into plans to make battery powered excavating equipment, skid steers, tractors, things like that. So whether that's actually going to come to fruition or if they were just, kind of eyeballing some ideas, that was a thought. All right, folks, I'm going to head on off of here. It's about time to get to bed. Just a couple more questions here I'll get through, and then I'll jump off. What do I know about construction is that they are going to hydrogen route for diggers. Really? That's actually good to know. I didn't know that that the construction equipment was going to hydrogen. I know, like, we've got electric stuff now already. We've got battery-powered excavators. We've got battery-powered little dingoes, things like that. So I know that technology is there. Yeah, exactly. We've got the electric diggers too. And they're good. So yeah, that'd be interesting to see the hydrogen route and how they go with that. I'm very interested in that. All right, folks, I'm hopping off. Don't forget, Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, I will be on Peggy's channel, Curious Peggy. If you guys aren't subscribed, please do so over there. And then next Wednesday, I will have, interesting. Next Wednesday, I will have the live stream here. So we will be starting 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be myself, Peggy. I think Brian's going to be joining us. I got to double check with him. See if we can get anybody else on. If not, the three of us will have a great time, and we'll do probably like a 3-hour live stream or something. So otherwise, you guys have yourselves a great weekend, and hopefully I will see you guys all on